Hello and welcome back to another Blender tutorial. Today I am going to be showing you guys how to make a robotic arm to pick up some inflatable balls using this 3D model for use in animation. So basically what we're going to do is go ahead and just add in a cube and go into the local view by pressing forward slash. So now you just want to scale it down on all axes except the Z. So we're going to press scale and then press shift Z to scale it inwards, right like this, but keep it tight. And then we're going to scale on the Y and we're just going to pull that out and that looks good. So what we're going to do is then add in a cylinder, and this is going to kind of be our kind of point that are going to make the robotic arm kind of bend. So we're just going to flip it on its side, scale it down to this, scale it on everything except the Y. That way we can keep how long it is on the Y, and then just go ahead and put it up. It's a little longer than than the rectangle we have now, so I'm just going to bring that in. And I'm just going to shade smooth, and then you can just go ahead and add those loop cuts on the edges, and then insert the faces like so. So now we have it beveled. You really didn't need to insert the faces though, because what we're actually going to do is we're going to have two loop cuts, and I just scale them out on the Y so we can kind of move them to right about here. And the reason why you don't actually have to set a face or insert a face here is because that's actually going to be blocked by this here. So then what we're going to do is actually just duplicate this object right here, move it out, rotate it 90 degrees on the Y, and I just had to make it -90 because it was facing the wrong direction, so I just had to make it negative so it rotates the other way. And then on the top view, we're just going to scale down the Y slightly, pull it up, probably scale it down like this so it's not as tall, and then push it right in. We might need to scale it up just a tad so that now we're going to have it so that it's kind of connected. So this looks good for now. Just making sure this all looks good. And we can probably make these parts right here thicker. So I'm just going to scale on the Y and just pull them in like that. And that looks pretty good. So my main concern is when we rotate this right here, is this going to collide with this? Because that'll look a little odd in our animation. So I'm going to change the pivot point to the active element. I'm going to select this, and then I'm going to select the cylinder while holding down shift so I can keep both selected. However, the cylinder is the main selected object, so if I were to rotate on the Y, it would rotate from the cylinder's origin. So as you can see, it's not going to collide with the bottom, so this will make it so that it can pivot just like we wanted, and it can pivot pretty well, so that's pretty good. And this is looking very nice, and I'm just going to duplicate this cylinder and just bring it down, scale it up slightly like this, and then scale on everything except the Y. So now this can pivot like so. So now it's time to add the kind of catching mechanism, and we're just going to basically just go ahead and add kind of like a claw So we're just going to pull it over here, shrink this down a little bit, and then just kind of make this a little more thin, move it out a little more, and then I'm just going to go to the top view, probably going to move it out a little more so I can see it better. I'm going to select this edge right here, and I'm going to pull it out like this, and I'm going to select this face, and I'm going to extrude it outwards like this. And then I'm going to basically do the exact same thing where I can basically take this right here, and I want to kind of pull it out, but there's no way we're going to kind of pull it out like we want it to in just one direction over one axis, because this is the only axes that we have to deal with, so we're just going to have to kind of freehand it, which will be okay. And the lap looks good right there. So then I'm just going to go ahead and extrude one more piece like that. And this looks a little out of proportion, so I'm just going to bring that in a little more. Maybe bring this in to there. We can probably bring this one in here and then extrude it like that. So now we have kind of a claw set up. And just go ahead and tweak it just a little bit until it looks how you want it to look. So I'm just going to move it like that, and that is pretty good. So now what I'm going to do is basically move it so that this end is right on this red line basically. And I'm going to duplicate this, move it off to the side on the Y, rotate 180 degrees on the X, and move it so that its edge is also just barely touching. And that looks good there. And now we're just going to move this negative 0.25. So negative 0.25. There we go. And move this 0.25 off to the side. So now we kind of have this catching mechanism. And then I'm just going to add in another cube and basically bring this down. And I'm going to bring in a mirror modifier, and I want to basically, I'm going to go into edit mode and pull this up, and I'm going to mirror it on the Z, so whatever I do on top, it will be done to the bottom as well. And I'm just going to make it so that these are going to be able to kind of support this right here. Kind of like that. But then we also have to make way for the ball, so we're going to have to basically take this right here, so add 2 loop cuts, and I'm just going to add 2 more here, because once we pull this back, I want to make sure that this is still going to be connected, and we can push these out a little more. Except you got to make sure that you go back to the median point, and that looks pretty good like that. And you can probably push these up if you want as well. So that looks pretty good right there. I'm just going to probably shrink this in a little bit and pull this back like this. And this is looking pretty neat. So what I'm going to do is just select all in edit mode by pressing A. I'm going to pull this down and pull this up. And there we go. Now that's kind of the support, and you can go ahead and apply the modifier, or you can just keep it non-applied, whatever works. And I'm just going to add in another cylinder, kind of shrink it down and pull it forward. And then go ahead, shade smooth, add the loop cuts. I accidentally triangulated the faces. You don't need to do that. Just basically add loop cuts. You don't have to worry about setting a face because we're not going to need to do that because this is actually going to be inside of the mesh. And I'm just going to pop this right here. We can actually go ahead and pull these forward. And then this is going to go over here as well. And there we have it. We have kind of a claw system. So now go ahead and parent this to this cylinder. Parent this to this cylinder. Now parent these two cylinders to this claw support right here. And you can go ahead and bring this up, bring this back, make sure it's centered, and I'm just going to go ahead and take a loop cut and slide it all the way here, and I'm going to take these faces, press E and then press E and then S and then Z to extrude it upwards, and this looks good right there. And I'm just going to move this back a little bit and just go ahead and take this and parent to this right here. Go ahead and take this, parent to this cylinder, parent to this, and then this parent to this final cylinder. So now, as you can see, we can rotate this, and we can rotate this, and we can actually rotate these. So I'm just going to exit out of local view and kind of pull this down and basically go ahead and probably add in another cube, bring this down, pull this forward, bring this a little flat like this. Go ahead and parent this cylinder to the cube and bring that down, and then parent the cube to the robot body right here. And now we are all parented, and that's all good, so you can just go ahead. I'm going to rotate this backwards, I'm just going to press rotate and then Z and then press Z again, and basically what that's doing is it's rotating along its own local axis, so what the object is basically what the object's up and down is, and that helps when, let's say this robot has been doing turns and something and you want to put it back where it was, or you want to rotate these but you don't want to have to go through the process of doing it all by hand. You can just rotate along their own local axis. So basically this is all we're going to be doing for today. And just a reminder, if you want to, let's say this is rotated like that, I don't want to go in and try to rotate like this because it's going to be pretty ugly. So what I'm going to do is press R and then press Z twice, and now it's rotating perfectly along its local Z. So yeah, that's going to be all for now. I'm just going to go ahead and set this back and go ahead and save your file, and that is all for today. I hope you learned from this, and I'll see you in the next one where we will go ahead and make the ball and then start actually making all of this stuff move. And that'll be all for now, and I'll see you in the next one.